Hello, America. Hello, world. Today is April 2nd, 2018. I would like to share with you some efforts that I've made to try to make America a better country and the world a better place. In Teresa Watson versus East St. Louis School District 189, General Service Employees Local 382, and Kim Haywood, I did as the federal judge advised me to do. I proved that the proffered reason for the wrongful termination of my employment was just a pretext for the discrimination. I proved my case using Exhibits 27 and 115, Parts 1 and 2. In Exhibit 27, I share of a telephone hearing that took place regarding my unemployment benefits, which I never received, but I should have received because I proved my case. In that telephone hearing, the judge asked the human resources director in those days of the reason for the wrongful termination of my employment. And the human resources director said that it was because I refused to go to an unwarranted setting. The judge asked of the reason for the unreasonable and unwarranted setting request. And the human resources director said that it was because of how I was towards a particular female and staff. I shared in that telephone hearing that I had resisted the sexual advances of that female. I am a lifelong heterosexual. My favorite game as a child was boy, catch a girl, kiss a girl. So I shared in that hearing that I had resisted the sexual advances of that female principal. In Exhibit 115, Part 2, I give the details of the harassment from that female. And regarding staff, how I was towards other staff, in Exhibits 115, Part 2, I share of an unwarranted hearing that took place. One female invited me to lunch. She was over the department that I worked for. I refused to go to lunch with her. She began to retaliate against me, and I had also resisted her unnecessary efforts to communicate over the phone and through emails. I was always professional and brief. So she displayed threatening behavior towards me, and I had to walk away from her to make a phone call to try to call for help. She left the scene at this one particular school. She left, and then she called and said that I should report to where she was at a different school or facility. And when I arrived, she said that she was requesting an unwarranted hearing. That hearing eventually took place on 10/6/09. And in that unwarranted hearing, she was asked of when did her threatening behavior towards me end, and she said it was when I walked away to make a call for help. I was asked of when did that behavior from her end, and I confirmed it was when I walked away to try to call for help. So all of this is proven in Exhibits 27 and 115, Parts 1 and Part 2. And after that unwarranted hearing on 10/6/09, I left the hearing, and the union representatives held me outside, and one was trying to make me continually look into her eyes. And then when I was finally relieved from her, I was exiting the building, and the other one who had been in the hearing, the other union representative, tried to force me into the stairway, saying that she had something to tell me, and that she didn't want anyone to hear. Well, there was no one around at that time. So I share of this harassment, even before I share this harassment in these exhibits, even before I was hired, the the president of the school district said that he would have to get by there, meaning my home, and that would determine whether I could work or not. So I let him know that his advances were not welcome. Eventually, I was hired full time, and he began to offer me a higher paying position. I refused the offer. I asked him during a political meeting if he instructed representatives to call me and offer me to work summer school, and he said yes, it was a privilege to be asked to work. I never applied for summer school. And there are two exhibits that show that relate to a summer school positions that I did not apply for. So those exhibits should not even exist. They were turned over to EEOC, and EEOC allowed me to have them after I requested my file. So I've proven this sexual harassment, and I should have been compensated. The judge came up with an unrelated reason for wrongfully dismissing my case. He said that I did not speak clearly in the unwarranted hearing. I spoke clear, and I confirmed, as the supervisor did, that her threatening behavior did not end towards me until I walked away to make a phone call for help. My call was never returned. So this case involves sexual harassment, retaliation, religion, race, and matters related to my hand and foot injuries in the workplace. The case was, it, I went ahead and filed my case in the appellate court. And before I did that, I put the unwarranted hearing on YouTube so that the court could hear that I did confirm that I had to walk away from that supervisor to try to call for help. I confirmed her story. So this was not even related to my case. I proved my case with exhibits 27 and 115. I proved the sexual harassment. So the appellate court wrongfully dismissed my case by saying that I needed to have paid $505. When I filed, I asked that it be waived because I had no income. I had been illegally blacklisted. So I went ahead December 2017, and I sent a letter to the United States Department of Labor. There's a 12/7/17 letter that I sent to the United States Department of Labor regarding an employer hiring me and then immediately letting me go and told me to go home, and they would call me. They did ring my phone the next day, but they said nothing. So I talked about the odd behavior in my interrogatory answers. So here it is, 2018, and this behavior is still being shown, this illegal blacklisting. In 2012, the local board was ousted, and an oversight panel was put in place. Two pastors are on the oversight panel. So I felt that being that my case was in federal court, they would do the right thing and have my case to be um, fairly handled, and I imagined I would be compensated. So they did not do the right thing. They continued to agree that the case could be paid for and not settled as it should have been. So they continue to support the wrong of the ousted local board. My case was wrongfully dismissed from the appellate court on June 18th, 2014. So a year went by and I wondered what could I do. I wrote a June 17th, 2015 letter, and I sent it to the two pastors on the oversight panel, asking them to make history in world news by telling the justice system that they did not want the unfairness that they supported in my case. They did not respond to my letter. An activist called them eventually, but I didn't get to hear the conversation. On October 5th, 2015, I took the letter to the strike lines. East St. Louis School District 189 was on strike. I imagined the letter would help to end the strike. It really related to it. It said that some people were trying to keep kids from learning, and also it talked about my efforts for justice. On October 20th, 2015, I spoke before the ousted local board. They were still conducting meetings, allowed to conduct meetings. So I shared of my 6/17/15 letter and that I still wanted justice. On October 26, 2015, I spoke before the Financial Oversight Panel and I shared of my June 17th, 2015 letter and that I had not had a response. On October 30th, 2015, I wrote another letter and I sent it to one of the pastors on the Financial Oversight Panel. So they have not formally responded to my letters. Different people can relate to me from different perspectives. One of the last ones is the story of the women that are in the news regarding their stories against Weinstein. So I am one that stood up against the sexual harassment from the men and the females. I'm a lifelong heterosexual. I am only attracted to men and men that I'm attracted to. So I proved my case with exhibits 27 and 115, and I should have been compensated. I will always want the money that I prove is due to me. I would like to thank everyone who have worked to try to make things better for Americans of the African transatlantic slave trade, um, us descendants. I would like to thank those who have gone on. I'm thankful for their work and those descendants that are still here. I need you to please work harder for people like me. There are YouTube videos out there, Teresa Watson, VS, ESL, District 189, and Local 382. And I ask for your help. It's shares of the different exhibits that I use in my case, certainly 27 and 115, parts 1 and 2. And I made a part 3, 115 part 3, I made that to be the audio of the 10609 unwarranted hearing, and I put it out on YouTube again after the appellate, after I began to, as I was about to file my case in the appellate court. So if we want a better America, a better world, one of the answers is to do right by everybody. people are going to work to earn money to take care of themselves and to have the lives that they want, not to be violated. So I hope today that I won't continue to have a check, as Dr. King used to said in one of his speeches, or however many he may have said. I should not have had a check that said insufficient funds. So that kind of relates here. You know, I deserve my compensation. I want to be able to sing, lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. I want to be able to sing about liberty and have liberty. I want to be able to sing regarding this real war, or wars that must be fought. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air. So I used 190 exhibits. Those were some bombs that really helped to win this case. And then there are additional exhibits. So all of those are to be used in determining the worth of my case. The surveillance um, that's mentioned in the interrogatories that I've answered. So even through today, sitting here and at this particular setting, I have the suspicious surveillance. Yesterday on the Taco Bell parking lot, you know, cars show up, people show up. So it has gone on in extreme ways, the surveillance. The case is completely over in the eyes of the court. Um, June 18th, 2014. So here it is, April 2nd, 2018, and I still get the surveillance. So much has been involved in this case. It got intermingled with other wars. So this has hurt um, my family and friendships. So all that's to be determined in compensation also, the damages. So the system has not been responsible at all in helping relationships. So I need my different support systems. Thank you.